Hey, y'all. I invite y'all to just take a breath with me. I know it's hectic out there. Whether wherever you're at, physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, let's take a breath. Just whatever your goals seem to be, your ideas, your objectives, your identification with the body, with your higher self, with God, with the collective, your intention, whether you want to check out or embody. We can, I say check out, I mean transcend. You take a breath and just feel, whatever that is for you, whatever relationship that may be with different types of the, subtle levels of the body. And there's that ability to come back in, be, because all of that, even all of those higher levels of connection, if it's coming in and having to maintain a level of disconnection from the body, there's some level of distortion there. There's something that's not fully able to be embodied and integrated, to allow you to have the stability and peace that is your natural inheritance, which is your natural birthright. Yes, this is a dense realm of confusion of mm, miasmic bullshit, that's prevalent. This these dense fears and cellular distortions and memories, um, are there, and I don't want to negate that. And it does, very much seem like at a point something that's wanting to be, uh, denied and escaped. But if we fully look at that, that's coming from an obvious place of lack, an obvious place of fear, an obvious place of unintegration. And this is something that I've really had to face over the last, you know, year, 2 years, year and a half of like where I wasn't really wanting to fully come back in and own and be with and honor, really that's what it comes back to, honoring this level of experiencing. Like, we're here for a purpose. You are divine. You are, connected and protected if you choose to be. And that's always a self choice, even like all, like, the higher level insights and looking into the astral. And when you see all the distortion and what seems to be going on those levels, and manipulating, like, that's, you're still operating under your power and authority and your remembrance of connection to choose to allow that to influence you, right? And so that's always a constant choice, what you're choosing to give credence and power to. There is nothing outside of yourself, outside of divinity, outside of the power of your mind, that has the power to control you, that has the power to oppress you. Does there seem to be things on multiple levels of reality that does? Yes, of course, sure. Duh, that's the whole point. That's the whole presentation. And you'll be invited into those different levels of reality, of perception, to see that and choose, like, okay. And then you'll also be invited to prematurely try to negate that and to deny that and escape that and pretend you don't see that and not want to look there and not want to have to, face and purify and cleanse those things. That purification is necessary. It's still very necessary, and it's going to be on all those levels, that whatever seems to be faced up. Now, does that mean that it takes a tremendous amount of time to go through that? No, no, not necessarily. Does it, no, will there maybe seem to be time of going through that? Yes, probably so. Odds are good. Likely you're still, in this realm, in this domain, experiencing, even if you want to try to simultaneously transcend. I don't even want to use, I use transcend here over ascend, because true ascension would be, in the embodiment and bringing up and not, negating. So I think that's a fuller picture. The transcendence is more of a premature, excuse me, is more of like that premature attempt to check out and escape and transcend that without integrating or truly purifying that. So it has that level of premature purification connotation to it in the way that I use it. Again, this is where spirituality and the spiritual marketplace is absolutely a free for all right now, because everybody uses terms and slightly, not everybody, I mean, but a lot of people, most people are using terms in slightly different ways. These terms are just pointing, and everybody's not using the terms to point at the exact same thing. So just know that. I'm not saying that everybody that uses the term transcend or ascend is using them in the same way that I am. I don't care. It is what it is. I can only speak here and what seems appropriate. But anyhow, I don't even know why I felt the need to clarify that. But so this is coming back in and honoring the experience and being able to be. And I started out with just that breath of being able to come back into the body. Like, you don't need to fear anything. You don't need to try to escape anything. This is the point. You don't need to try to prematurely transcend and escape this reality, because why would you be doing that? You'd be doing that from a place of lack, limitation, fear, desire aspects. And this is usually all coming from the limited self. It's always coming from the distorted egoic perception of the idea of, like, this experience isn't full now. This experience is not complete now. I'm not complete because I'm still in this fragile, limited body, and oh my God, I can be blah, 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 and I need to be fully connected with my higher self in all these dimensional realms and be able to see this and that and blah, blah, blah. That's, you see that? I mean, the ego loves all that. It loves that, just all these threads and narratives and distortions and confusion and chaos. And that's really all that gets you. Now, I'm not saying these things aren't valid and they don't come online and you don't have that connection to that, but where is that's a very organic, spontaneous type flow. And I've went through that, and then I've went through, that seeming to dissipate, and that seeming to go away, me seeming to get cut off from that, and that was not, and then wanting to blame stuff other outside of myself for that. Oh no, I got cut off because of this council, that council, this faction, that faction. No, it was me. It was through my own free will choices that I made through, levels of distortion, confusion, buying into this fear, whatever, that seemed to do that. And that's fine. I had to come back in and own that and take responsibility for that. But I'm here. I still have that connection. I went through crazy, horrible, weird scenarios, and that, I promise you, that peace and presence of God is always it's never left here. Though there's certainly at times seem to be things that have overlaid that and tried to negate that through that overlay, but that's there. And I do believe that that's available for anyone at any time. Nothing can change that. There's only that invitation to buy in to the limitation, to the other than, that you are fully connected with Source, God, love, light, truth, and divinity. God is there. Your connection to God is always available. There's nothing that can threaten that outside of you, outside of your own willingness to choose to believe that. Now, is there parts of experience and things that want to go to deep levels of being cut off from that? Sure, I'm not going to negate that. I believe that there are, but I do, even in the most esoteric teachings now, there's these ideas of inversions and inverted fields, and parasitic beings that have fully cut themselves off from God, and they're beyond that connection with Source, and so they have to vampire energy and da 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 da. That So yeah, that does seem to be going on that level. These are one of those deep states of experiencing that type of disconnection. But even here, something fully does not agree that's that's not permanent. Like that's so to say that God cannot even correct that is like wow, wow. Wow, that what could if God that ain't God. If God could not correct that or could not, reestablish the truth, that is that connection, then that's not power. That's not divinity. That's not God as I know God to be. Now, is there God being a respecter of free will and the choice and everything of whatever his children want to experience in that way? Does that mean that, he won't allow the mind to go to the extremes of experiencing that? Sure, I have to believe that, yeah, certainly will. Sure, of course. But I have to believe that there's still that level of redemption, of connection that takes place even on those levels. Um, and because otherwise it negates the power. It negates the power that is divinity, is God, that has all power, that is the only absolute power in the universe, in all universe, throughout all realms and all dimensions. Now, uh, what does this have to do for you? Well, it's the same thing. Wherever you seem to find you're at, whether it's just a small minute disconnection of like coming back into the body and seeming to be thrust back into the horrible densities of planet Earth and the 3D, consciousness and whatever, or whether it seems to be like these deep thoughts of like, oh no, did I go too far? Did I choose this service to self path and get cut off? Like, all, have I been on this for, eons and throughout multiple lifetimes? And this, I mean, honestly, I think anybody that wants to turn around, you have that choice. And there's, outside of my own experience and intuition and beliefs, there's pointings to this. I'm not going to go into that. Even in the Law of One, it talks about up into the highest I believe it's like the highest levels of six density where the negative recognizes the error of its ways, it can turn around. And, there's other teachings that say at this point that turnaround is just a absolution, a dissolution of the self back into stardust. Whatever. That doesn't really sound that bad. But I don't even believe that that's fully like to say that that's like that's it, that this is just how it is. um, that doesn't really ring true either because it's like that negates, again, that's going back to negating the full power of divinity and what God is. Now, are there realms and whole uh, simulations and matrices where that's the experience? Sure, I imagine so. There has to be. There's an infinite potential within that. So of course you're gonna have that. You're gonna have that on them big jobs, as I like to say. But your responsibility is for yourself. Everybody has these free will choices, and the choice is always right here, right now, of what you're choosing to believe in, right? What you're trying to um, embody, escape. Like, where is this coming from? What are you connected with? Where are you aligned right here and now? Like, you can always choose to tune in and align with what is, what really has power. Where is that connection, that source, that God, that love that is right here, always available? And this is irregardless of the presentation of what's going on. Yeah, I'm vastly aware of the confusion and fuckery that's going on in this seeming third dimensional domain that a lot of people would try to negate and pretend and say, oh, you don't need to look at it, don't pay it, give that no attention, and da 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 da. I do believe that's a huge error at some point to try to, prematurely ignore that. And on the flip side, obviously, an overindulgence is just as much an error. But we have to be willing to look upon all these things to really see what's going on here. All right, what am I being shown in my experience? Where is there still that belief in smallness and limitation and lack and fear that's usually largely responsible for this premature notion of not wanting to look at this thing, this dismissive, ignorant nature that wants to ignore and focus only on love and light and transcend. This is that transcendence is oftentimes coming from a very, very selfish, idea, mentality, intention, and this gets very overlooked and masked up in a lot of very clever spiritual ways and ideas of service and all that, and usually there's a lot of truth there, but it's this is why it's a case by case basis for the individual, and always like really takes that honest observation of what's going on. Like, what is my intention behind this? Am I still validating this fear? Am I still believing in smallness of myself? Am I still believing I can be attacked if I look on this too much? If like this is, this system or this idea or this conspiracy aspect of the darkness, like, oh, is there this quick, like, oh no, flip the page, change the channel, there's violence, oh no, change the channel, what is, like, more and more I think we're going to have to be honest with ourselves about where is that coming from. And if you can't hold something in loving compassion and acceptance and non-judgment, like, you're not going to be able to continue to mask that up as something other than what it is. It's this fear. It's very simple, guys. Like, non-judgmental, open heart love is the answer, and that's not just non-judgmental, open heart love on that which is non-judgmental and open-hearted. Go figure. Wow. If you cannot open your heart and love the darkness, then you're still trying to project that as outside of you. You're still afraid of it. You're still trying to hide from the fear. You're trying to hide it from yourself. You're trying to lie to yourself. So, I mean, this all comes into spiritual maturity and embodiment, and ability to be and fulfill. I think this ties in also to, like, really dharmic purpose, is like, living that and stepping into that is what is your truth. I mean, I've been talking and looking at a lot of stuff that, like, wouldn't seem um, as highly spiritual as I once would have thought. And it's like, well, why am I being called to share this? Why is this, like, really, aligning in a sense of, like, what I feel called towards, drawn towards to speak on and talk about? And it's because somebody has to point these things out. Somebody has to speak on these things. Somebody has to do it from a place of maturity and mature level of disconnection while maintaining connection to the truth. The truth is, like, it's that paradoxical nature. It's like, yes, this is there. It's not the truth in the highest sense, but it seems to be here. It seems to be going on. It's part of that presentation. What are we going to do about it? Can we bring that into the fold? Yeah, I've been watching anime lately. It's really good, Hunter X Hunter, and it's really great. I love it, man. It's like they have that genuine, true, childlike nature of being able to, like, forgive and lovingly look on aspects of creation, people and beings, and bring them into the fold. Relinquish that judgment, and have faith that your brothers can always return, can always come home to you, can always be redeemed and fulfill themselves if you're maintaining that true connection within yourself and being authentically and true to you and established in that. That's our purpose here. That's the purpose of this realm and embodiment. That's what the darkness fears. The darkness fears us not fearing it, us being able to just look on it lovingly and shine the light. And not, like, negate that it's not dark, not try to pretend that it's not darkness either. Having that discernment as well. That's important because it's not like, oh, there's no darkness, there's no, negativity, it's only love, it's only light. And if I'm seeing something other than that, I need to look away. Yeah, how's that going for you? Seriously, like, I mean, if that's going good for you, cool. But I've went through some long periods of time where that seemed to be going good, and then boom, became quite blatantly obvious that that wasn't really going that good. It was just a lot of suppression and repression, a lot of avoidance, a lot of delay, a lot of improper use of denial. So, let's come back. Let's take a breath. Always right here, right now. It's like, boom. Like, you can maintain that stable, centered connection regardless of what's going on out here, regardless of the presentation. You don't need to escape any realm. You don't need to escape any dimension, any density. That's the lie. You are God's son with whom he is well pleased throughout all times and dimensions. The question is, are you well pleased with yourself? Love your neighbor as yourself. How much do you love yourself? And all this, forgiveness and everything, these are just aspects of ourself of like what we're forgiving is where we've judged ourselves as not standing in the truth, not speaking up for what we know we've needed to speak up for, and having not stood in the truth, having judged not stood in the truth. And that's always something that can be corrected right here and now. It's not, the only thing that's really being corrected is the idea of that failure anyhow. So you're always invited back into the kingdom whenever you want to choose to accept that invitation. And that invitation has to be open to all. Otherwise, the kingdom's divided. Otherwise, there's other powers apart from God. So, what would you believe? What would you choose? How would you look on your brothers and sisters? How would you look on yourself? How would you look on this realm? How would you be in it? Nobody can make that choice for you. You can't live anybody else's path and decide it's your own and the only path for you. That'll run out. That road will get rocky. What's meant for some is not meant for all. Truth and love is meant for all. God is meant for all. Because it is all. There's nothing apart from that. There's lots of presentations otherwise. Don't fear the presentations. But be willing to play your part. Don't try to just it's just a play, but I'm going to, go behind the scenes and try to not observe it. Try to not be a part of it. Let the play finish while I'm just over here on the side hiding out. I'm just going to hide out over here. No. There'll be another one for you. You have a part to play. Don't try to escape it. Try to step into it. Love yourself. Love all. I love you. Thank you for letting me share this with y'all, guys. Have a beautiful day. Peace and love. Bye.